Okay, everyone, we are now going to see and hear and learn from the incredible Connie Boyd.
She has been called the beauty of magic and the foremost female magician of our time. No, it's not Doug Henning. Ladies and gentlemen, the award winner for Best Cabaret Magic, Connie Boyd.
It's a career highlight to be here.
Let's meet a lady who is an expert at her craft.
A woman who shattered the glass ceiling of magic. See for yourselves.
In the world of magic, a female performer. She has been a headliner in Vegas. She then went on to become a consultant, a mentor, a director, and now she is producing things globally. Have you figured it out? Well, you better pay attention. It is the one and only Connie Boyd.
I am so thrilled to be here this evening, sharing with you one of my very favorite topics, how women influence magic. Now, I'm going to be covering some magical women who are obscure and who are a little bit intriguing. You're going to learn a little bit about their backstories and how they influenced magic and the obstacles that they overcame and the struggles that they overcame. Now, there is so much content, I couldn't possibly include it all tonight. So I will tell you that there is a running theme through all of the various stories, and that is resilience in adapting and a very strange attraction to royalty and royal billings. Haven't quite figured that one out. So because we'll be here together for about 70 minutes, I have included also there's some of our magical women. I've included also some fun, challenging games, such as magic trivia and who invented that. So please participate because it's a group effort, and I think those of you that are here might know quite a few answers to some of these questions. So. Now, it would be impossible to run this talk in a chronological order and to connect the dots. So I'm going to be jumping past and present, forward and back. So fasten your seatbelts, and we'll go on a ride together, okay? Yeah, great. Now, I'm going to go forward a bit. I can relate to adapting and versatility. I started as a dancer, and I had an injury in my ankles, so I had to change career paths. And then I became an aerialist, but I had a catastrophic fall, so I had to change career paths. And I discovered magic, and I discovered I loved it. It uses every talent that I have personally. And so I became a magician and an illusionist. I traveled the world. I directed shows. I mentored magicians. I produced shows. I produced magic production shows. I was on top of my game, and I was loving it. And then the pandemic hit, and my whole world turned upside down. And I realized I had to do something. And so I became a YouTuber. I did. I became a YouTuber, and I created a channel called Magical Women. There's my slide. And I don't believe that even the great Max Maven could have predicted that one. And so when I started with the Magical Women Project, one of the very first magicians that was a guest star was Tina Leonard, that I think all of you know. And she's a brilliant magician. And Tina said to me, because I was really nervous and I was very much out of my comfort zone, and I had been behind the scenes for the last 5 years. I hadn't been in front of the camera. And she said to me this quote, and this helped me a lot. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And it resonated with me, and it really helped me. So I hope that this speech tonight will help you to push beyond your comfort zones and to maybe try something new. So let's start with a little magic trivia. I think every single magician, it's on their bucket list to perform in Las Vegas. But who was the very first magician to perform in Las Vegas? We have a choice. Was it Jay Marshall, Jack Codell, Celeste Evans, or Gloria Day? Now, all four, they did perform in Las Vegas. But who was the first? Gloria Day. Yes, fantastic. So, yes, Gloria Day was an 18-year-old magician, and she performed in Las Vegas. Now, we know this to be true thanks to magic historians Lance Rich and Anna Rose Einerson. And thanks to them, we know for a fact that it was indeed Gloria. Now, here's a few facts that you may or may not know about Gloria. Gloria performed at the El Rancho Hotel and Casino on May 1941. The Las Vegas Review-Journal called her the hit of the show. And it exists today, the Review-Journal. It's a credible newspaper. Gloria was a child prodigy. She had been performing magic since she was 5 years old, and her father was Leo Metzner, and he was a magician. So she was skilled by the time she performed in Las Vegas. Now, here's the piece de resistance. Up until last month, Gloria lived in Las Vegas, and she celebrated her 100th birthday on August 25th, 2022. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Yeah. Now, I have something that's really rare and really special, and it's thanks to Lance Rich. We have footage of Gloria performing magic. Would you like to see it? Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Last year, I had the honor of giving Gloria the Academy of Magical Arts certificate that Gay presented to her last October. And she was so thrilled. And she was a very spunky, feisty character. And I am so grateful that I got to meet her and I was able to document her and that I was able to write about her. And it's probably, she touched my heart. And I think she touched many people's hearts. She was a true diva. Now, we have a playlist on our Magical Women channel that's dedicated to Gloria Day. And there are interviews with her, interviews about meeting her, and a whole series. So if you'd like to learn more, go to our YouTube channel and you will be able to learn much, much more about Gloria Day. Now, we've established that she was indeed the first magician in Las Vegas. Who was the first magician to appear on television in the United States? And I have to say in the United States because there's another one in France, I have learned later. I thought it was the legendary man with the X-ray R's, Kudobox. But what have we learned since? In 1939, at the World's Fair in San Francisco, General Electric debuted a new pilot. And that pilot was on a new medium, and that medium was television. The magician that appeared on that pilot was a woman, and it was the beloved Jerry Larson. Yeah. Now, subsequently, Jerry went on to have a star in her own magic show. And that show was called The Magic Lady. And it was on 1940, and it was on ABC. And here's a little clip of Jerry performing some magic. Now, Jerry was also a mother, and she was a mother to two very important people. I can't imagine why. They were the founders of the Magic Castle, and they were Bill and Milt Larson. Now, I think you all know Milt had a birthday yesterday, and he turned 92 years young, so that's pretty impressive. Okay, so yes, we've established that they established the Magic Castle, where we happen to be right now. So, who could that be? Yes. Jerry had a granddaughter, and that granddaughter was Erica Larson, who happens to be in the house. Erica is now the president of Magic Castle Enterprises. And actually, stand up, Erica, and we're going to give you another resonating round. Woo! Yeah, it's important. So I have to admit that when I started this Magical Woman project, I thought, okay, I know magic. I've been a magician for 30 years, and I've been documenting magical women for almost 3 years now. So I've got a grip on this. Nothing prepared for me for the scope of information that I have discovered about how women have influenced magic. It's just crazy how much content there is, and how much history, and how women have just been involved in magic since the beginning of time. Now, there is a part of magic on magic's historic timeline that is largely overlooked. Do you know what that is? It would be women in magic. Yeah, it has been. However, there is some really good news about this. Actually, it's really great news. Thanks to authors, magic historians, and the internet, we now have access to so much more information about all these wonderful women that really did influence magic and change the way that we perceive magic today. So where am I now? Magic trivia. Who was the magician who inspired and motivated the 3-time FISM winner, Fred Capps? Now that's a first. He was the first magician to win FISM 3 times. But who was the magician who influenced him? Do you have any idea?
Mrs. Capps.
It was not, but good answer. That was a very good answer. I'll give you a hint. It's the lady with the fairy fingers. Susie Wonders, yes. Yeah, it is Susie Wonders. And we know this information to be true because Kobe Van Herwegen donated that information to me. Now, Kobe is a magic historian, and he also wrote the book on Susie Wonders, the lady with the fairy fingers. So, yeah. Now, I think everyone in this room, it's undeniable that Susie was a brilliant magician. She had excellent skills and excellent performance abilities. She had been on stage since she was a child. She was part of a family legacy. So she really, really was an excellent entertainer. Now, I'd like you to take a look at this next clip. It's Starlight Days from the Lido, and it's at the MGM Studios in 1935. Watch closely.
So put a few into circulation. Stop stalling, begin falling the way I fell for you. Hang on to me, hang on to me. I'd like to hang you on my family tree. Oh, we gotta get together, better start in now. You're over there, and I'm over here.
Okay. Now, how many of you believe that to be Susie Wonders?
I've heard this controversial.
It is?
It's her, and some people say no.
You're correct. So how many of you think it's Susie Wonders? Yeah? Yeah, okay. Yeah, most of the people in the room, yeah. It's not. That would be incorrect. It's actually a younger magician, and we know this to be true thanks to Kobe and his colleagues. And her name was Marion Stephanie. Now, Marion Stephanie was known as a female Houdini, and she did the needle swallow trick. But we really don't have a lot of documentation about Marion Stephanie at the time. But if you take a look at the two of them side by side, they look similar. And yeah, there was so little documentation about women in magic at the time. It's natural that everybody thought that Marion was indeed Susie Wanda's. So yeah. The other thing that's kind of interesting is you would be hard-pressed to find anybody in 2023 to do cigarette manipulation. You would go to an awful lot of work and you would not be able to be employed because most theaters, it is taboo and it's banned. So now let's go backwards a little bit further and we will meet another magician. She was a Jewish German magician and her name was Miss Blanche. And that was her stage name. Her real name was Ruth. Now, Miss Blanche chose her stage name consciously because of the Miss Blanche cigarette brand. And that was from the Netherlands, and she was hoping that they would sponsor her for her magic shows. Now, she was really talented and very, very skilled. She was part of the German magic circle. But in 1938, all of the Jewish German magicians were expelled from the magic circle, and they were removed. Their memberships were revoked. So subsequently, Miss Blanche fled Germany, and she went to the Netherlands, where she was captured. And she ended up in Auschwitz, in the Auschwitz concentration camp. Yeah, she really did. And while she was there, they realized and recognized that she had magic skills. So against her will, she was forced to perform magic. And it's believed that she survived from the table scraps that she was given after her performances. And she performed for German dignitaries and SS officers, basically whenever they wanted her to. When the war was completed and she was released, she weighed 65 pounds. Yeah. So it's a terrible story. Yeah, I don't know if it's a dream. It's a terrible story, and it really, I mean, we can't even truly relate to it today. However, I think the resilience and the strength that Miss Blanche, Ruth, showed, and using her magic for a greater good and for survival, like that's just remarkable. It's incredible. So yeah, it moves me. So everybody knows Harry Houdini. But what you might not know is that there are 70, yes, 70 documented women escapologists during Harry Houdini's time. Yeah. Now we know, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Wait, so they all copied Houdini?
Well, he would have, if you were Houdini, he would believe that to be true. Yes, he would actually have said that. And he was not excited about all of these women that were copying him. We know this to be true because historian Gary Hunt, he has compiled this list. Now, this list is all different magicians of all different levels of show business. They're not all A++, but they're from all genres of show business, but they did exist during that time. There was one magician, however, that Harry Houdini was very nervous about and possibly threatened by, and her name was... No, it was not his wife, Bess. It was Minerva. Yes. And Minerva was really good at handcuff escapes, and she was a publicity favorite. She would leap off of bridges into the water after she had been secured, in this case, by the chief of police. So she leapt off the Blue Bridge into the Potomac River after being secured by the... Oh, my goodness. It is. I can't take credit for doing that magically.
We saw you wave your hand.
I do that a lot. It's an occupational hazard. So she would leap off bridges like the Blue Bridge and into the Potomac River, and she would escape. Now, I don't know if you can visualize this, but we're in 1908. Imagine the visual she must have caused as she exited the water with her clothes clinging to her body. It would have been pretty scantily, titillating, I would imagine. But that isn't what made Harry Houdini nervous. What made Harry Houdini nervous was Minerva's oak barrel underwater, secured, airtight, shackled and chained escape. Now, it was very, very similar to his milk can escape. But Minerva's actually included more bondage, so it was a little bit more challenging. Now, there's a few things that are a little controversial. Both Minerva and Harry Houdini claimed that they were the first to escape from a water-filled container. And I think we can dispute this to the end of the earth and never know the truth. But they both Harry Houdini and Minerva did claim that. There was a claim that Harry Houdini placed acid into Minerva's oak barrel and that he burned her while she was on tour in the United Kingdom. And that claim was made by her ex-husband, Guy Jarrett. Now, is that true? We don't have documentation or facts other than that's what he stated. Yeah, but, very dramatic. So I would say definitely there was a rift between the two of them. So Harry Houdini was so threatened by Minerva, he did do something, and it was pretty nasty. He cast and trained a German high diver, and her name was Oceana, and he taught her the exact same routines and escapes that Minerva did. And then she was booked in the exact same towns that Minerva was booked. So he made all these attempts to try to discredit her and to have complete competition against each other. And fortunately, it didn't work. Yeah, it was show business, but it was dirty. And Minerva continued to perform, and Oceana did not continue her career. So Minerva was the real deal, and she returned back to the United States in 1909, and she continued to perform. Now, I think it's really ironic that in Scranton, Pennsylvania, there is a Houdini museum. And the person that runs that Houdini museum is a female escapologist who performs the upside-down straight-jacket escape and the bullet catch. Okay, so now you all know who that is, right? Dorothy Dietrich. You are absolutely right. So wouldn't it have been wonderful if we had had this information and had access to this information in the past? It would have, I think it could have changed the face of how we see magic today. So it's very important to document your magic. Another person who's behind the scenes, who is sort of an unsung hero, is Lupe Nielsen. Now, Lupe is a magic historian. She is a close-up magician, and she fabricates the entire Nielsen Magic product line from beginning to end. She deserves it. Anyone that's used the Nielsen Magic bottles or the latex doves, not gloves, doves, you know how the quality of her work. She also fabricates the Norm Nielsen poster collection, and those are high-quality replications on canvas, and they're just remarkable. So any of you that follow, I think, Lupe on Facebook know that she is literally a Wonder Woman. Yeah. And another Wonder Woman is here in the audience tonight. Wow. She has produced and placed more magicians on television in the United States than any other person ever. Do you know who that is? Yay, stand up, Gay. It's your turn. Yeah. Gay is just remarkable. And what you have done for magic and the magic community is just brilliant. Now, here is some kind words from Ed Alonzo.
Produce more television magic for magicians. And that was the World Magic Awards and the Masters of Illusion and tons of other shows, escape shows, close-up shows. And it was now very exciting to see that she was a huge force in magic. The fact that she's still creating an entity for young magicians to showcase in is unbelievable.
Yeah. You really deserve it, Grace. Now, I think most of you know that Gay began her magic career as an assistant and partner to Harry Blackstone Jr. Yay. Like Adelaide Herman before her, she forged forward in widowhood to become a greater success. Yeah. Now, I just mentioned Adelaide Herman. Adelaide would have slipped into oblivion had Margaret Steele not picked up her pen and passionately researched, documented, and searched for buried treasure. In this case, it was Adelaide's memoirs, 65 Years of Magic. Thanks to Margaret Steele, we now have a credible source and resource for the most important female magician of all time. And that's a direct quote from Adelaide herself. So, yeah. Adelaide was also brilliant at publicity and promotion. And through her memoirs, she staked her own legacy. And that was the first professional female magician. It was to be the first woman to perform the bullet catch, and the first woman to perform magic choreographed to music. Now, I don't know if you can imagine this, or many of you may already know this story, but imagine Adelaide Herman's dilemma. She had lost her husband. He had died unexpectedly. She had a very short performance career with his nephew, which failed dismally. She was on the brink of financial ruin. She was almost bankrupt. Now, she could have sold her show, and there were many magicians that wanted her material. They were desperate for those illusions. Or she could forge forward as a female magician in the Victorian era as a soloist and make a go at it. And that's what she chose to do. Yeah. So Adelaide, almost overnight, she was a critically acclaimed success. They loved her. And her shows were silent, engaging. They included grand illusion, and they also included manipulation. Yeah. So Adelaide became not only a great star in the Americas, she became a great star also in Europe. And her fame actually surpassed many other magicians and many other shows at that time. Let me just make sure I've got this. Most importantly, Adelaide surpassed her late husband's fame, fortune, and career longevity, performing into her 70s. So she is and was the most important female magician of all time. And we have to thank Margaret Steele for picking up her pen. Yeah. Now, Adelaide claimed that she was the first magician to perform magic choreographed to music. And that really resonated with me. And it made me think about another magician. So let's fast forward to the late 1980s, 1990s. And we will find a female magician, assistant, choreographer, and director who was brilliant at staging magic to music. Do you know who it is? Joni Spina, yeah. Love Joni. Joni is responsible for directing, mentoring, and choreographing many, many magicians. But she's most famous probably for her work with David Copperfield. Any of you that have seen the origami or the interlude or the water levitation, those are all examples of Joni Spina's brilliant work. Now, who was the first magician that Joni Spina worked with other than David Copperfield? You are right. It was me. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So it was me, and it was in 1992. And Joni was working with David Copperfield at the time, and I had just put a new routine into the show that I called Floating and Flying. And Joni Spina and Don Wayne came to see my performance at the Folies Bergère in the Tropicana Hotel. And Joni came backstage afterwards, and she said to me, I'd love to restage that number. Would you be open to that? And I was like, Joni, you can do whatever you want. It was Joni Spina. And so she took the number, and she changed the costuming into that tiny little leotard. And she changed the choreography, and she changed the music. And that routine became a signature piece for me in magic. And it was all thanks to Joni Spina and also Don Wayne. That started a lifetime of friendship, collaboration, magic mentoring, and guidance. And every magic performance and choice I make is thanks to Joni Spina and Don Wayne. I miss them to this day a lot. I go to call them. Now, I mentioned that I started as a dancer, and I started as a classic dancer. I was training with the National Ballet of Canada, and I developed tendinitis in both ankles. So my career as a prima ballerina was pretty well kaput. So I took some auditions, and I ran away, and I joined the circus. As you would. My parents were not impressed. But I did join the circus, and I started with a perch pole act and an adagio acrobat act. I later became a single trapeze artist, and I was a partner in a juggling act. And those were the two circus skills that I had. And I was loving it. We traveled and toured all over the United States in different circuses, Circus Vargas, the Shrine Circuses. Paul Kay took us to Hawaii and to Japan. It was wonderful until 1986 at the Astrodome when a piece of rigging broke and I fell to plop on my feet and I shattered both feet. Oh, Lord. Yeah. I joke that's when I decided to become a magician. But the reality is I became a magician because after rehabilitation, I was working again as a partner in the juggling act, an assistant. And I was working at the Riviera in a show called Splash. And in the show called Splash, there was a headlining act. And that headlining act, he was a puppeteer and he was a magician. And his name was Barclay Shaw. Yeah. And anybody that knows Barclay Shaw will recognize this levitation. So it was, wow. He floated the girl so close to the audience, and she was encased in a plexiglass box, and it was just, to this day, I think it's one of my favorite levitations. Did any of you see it? Did you have the opportunity? Yeah, it was brilliant. So Barclay saw me watching him every night. And he said, well, if you like magic that much, you should be the magician. And he actually built me one of my first magic props. So why would the star, the headliner of Splash at the Riviera Hotel, help me, a nobody? Any idea? No? Well, he may have liked me a little bit. But the reason he did it is the person that inspired him to become a magician was a woman. And her name was Cleopatra. Okay. And so to quote Barclay Shaw, she was the very best magician he'd ever seen. And so he had no problem about a woman being a magician. It was normal to him. And imagine my surprise. So now I'm reading and I'm trying to learn a little bit about the history of magic. And I'm reading Melbourne Christopher's book, The Illustrated History of Magic. And on page 315, there's a whole chapter dedicated to the buzzsaw. And so there is a section in there that describes Cleopatra. And Cleopatra, to quote Melbourne Christopher, was the best female illusionist that he ever saw. So would you like to learn a little bit about Cleopatra and how she became a magician? Because I couldn't make this up. Okay. So Cleopatra was originally Russian. She married a Greek magician, and they were touring in Spain. They were traveling from one town to the next. They got into an automobile accident. The buzzsaw went through the cab of the truck and severed her husband's neck. It's there. You can read it. 315. It's there. Like Adelaide Herman before her, she became a magician.
We're starting to get suspicious. There's like a pattern here.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a pattern going on. That I don't know, because, you know, that's a great point, because the problem is there's so little documentation about women magicians during this time. And Margaret Steele helped me a little bit. We did a bit of research because I would love to learn more about Cleopatra. We discovered that she had traveled and she performed in the Caribbean, and that she had done a tour in Brazil, and that she did perform a little bit on the East Coast. But that's all we really know about Cleopatra.
Do we know her real name?
I do have it, and actually I think it's written here. Hold on, I can see if I can read it. Valeria. But I have documents for her visa going into Brazil, and it does have her name. And they had one son. She had a son. But we were trying to find sort of a timeline, and then it sort of just stopped. It'd be another full-time job to research that. But yeah, so I find that fascinating. But that leads me to the next point, and that is the importance of documenting your magic. Now, in the time of Adelaide Herman, or even Cleopatra, they had the options of writing a diary, memoirs, and perhaps we'd be fortunate enough to have publicity clippings so that we would be able to follow sort of a timeline of their successes. But now, in 2023, I'm going to fast forward to Diana Zimmerman, who has a fabulous quote. Stand up, Diana. We're going to make you stand up. Yeah. And it is, legends are made from authors, not deeds. And so I think every single person in this room, even if you're a non-magician, the importance of documenting your legacy, documenting your life, it's very important. And in 2023, we have so many options. We can blog, we can create an Instagram account, a Facebook account, TikTok. You can have websites, you name it. And you could also have a diary, write your memoirs, and you could follow a publicity timeline. So all of those things are really important to everybody, I think, and that can kind of resonate with all of us. Now, this is the one I don't quite get, but the royal billings, and there is a serious attraction, as you will see. I've just discussed Adelaide Herman, who was called the Queen of Magic, and Minerva, who was called the Queen of Handcuffs. So I got thinking, okay, has there ever been a true royal blue blood magician? Guess what? There was, yes. And her name was Queen Marie Henriette of the Belgians. Yeah. And she is from the 1880s. Okay, now she was really serious, Queen Marie Henriette. She was so serious that she had Karl, or Compères Herman, train her at the palace. So that's Alexander Herman's older brother, and he was her tutor, her in-house tutor. She had her own stage made in the palace, and she would perform for people at the palace. So she or if you were visiting, and so she literally had a captive audience. And who couldn't love that? Yes, exactly. So here are some more royal billings. Now, you know who this is, Talma. Talma was the queen of coins, and she could palm 30 coins into her tiny little hands. And she had a career run of over 30 years. Now, this is kind of interesting. Talma inspired another magician. Do you know who that is? No? No? But that was a very good. It's a woman. That might help you. No, the lady with the fairy fingers. It is indeed Susie Wanda's. And what's even better is Kobe has donated a clip of Susie Wanda's, and I just want to share this with you. It's so cool.
So you were quite impressed.
Absolutely.
And you once told me something that your mother...
Yeah, she told me, look well at Talma.
Oh, and why was that?
Yeah, I was inspired to see that work which she did with the coins.
Uh-huh.
And that was beautiful. And then my mother said to me, look at Talma, maybe one day you will look like you. I say, well.
Isn't that special? I just love it. Yeah. Yeah, and obviously Susie did do very well with her inspiration of Talma. She became a fantastic magician herself. So here are some more royal billings that you may not know. Vonetta was the queen of mystery. And Vonetta was an early illusionist, and she was also an early quick change artist. And in a rare role reversal, she actually used her husband as the assistant. Now, I think everybody knows Ionia, the goddess of mystery. Now, Ionia, Charles Green III wrote a book about Ionia. Last year, he published it. If you haven't read it or had the opportunity to read it, it's a great book, and it's filled with all kinds of really interesting facts.
And the library has it.
Oh, does it? Fantastic. Yeah. It's a really good book. And Ionia's posters are considered to be the most coveted, or among the most coveted, of the golden age of magic. Now, thanks to Charles Green, we know Ionia's true birth name, and that was only discovered in 2006 in Stan Allen's Magic magazine when he published an article by Charles Green. And in that article, they revealed that her birth name was Clementine de Vere. So she was part of the de Vere family legacy. So that was Ionia. Now, Ionia only had a magic performance career of 3 years, from 1910 to 1913. But in 1919, she married a Russian prince. And she became true royalty, taking the title Princess Clementine. And she kept that title until her death. So she actually did. Now, there's even, for me personally, it's an even more important point, and that is that her mother was Julia Ferret, who's also known as Miss Edith, who's also known as Okita, which most people would know. And her daughter was Ionia, who is Princess Clementine. So that, I believe, is the very first mother-daughter female magician legacy. So that's kind of interesting. So have you ever heard of J. Hartford Armstrong, who was billed as the king of the colored conjurers? No? Well, he had a touring magic show, and in that magic show, his daughter Ellen Armstrong performed. And Ellen had performed in the show since she was a little girl. So she was a very solid entertainer and had excellent magic skills. In 1939, she inherited her father's show, and she continued his legacy of touring up and down the eastern seaboard. Now, she would travel she risked her life, and she risked hanging to bring her magic and shows to colored communities and black communities up and down the eastern seaboard. So that's remarkable. Now, I think I would have really liked Ellen. I think she had a great sense of humor. If you read all of her, the little clips, they're kind of funny, but the one in the center says, "If laughing hurts you, stay at home." So I really like that sentiment, and I'm quite sure I would have enjoyed her. Okay, so here is a trivia first that I think some of you might know. Who was the first magician nominated for an Emmy in 1952? Was it Mark Wilson, Celeste Evans, Del O'Dell, or Ricciardi? Yes, you are correct. It is indeed Del O'Dell. Now, the sad news is she didn't win the Emmy. Do you know who won the Emmy that year? Anybody know? It was the Emmy for a television series. It would have been must have been a variety show television series because the winner was Betty White. Yeah. So so it wouldn't be specific to magic. So it must have been variety. Yeah. So Del O'Dell won for her was nominated, for her Del O'Dell show that was on ABC out of Los Angeles. But she was actually billed as the Queen of Magic, another royal. Now, I think most of you know that Del was known for her snappy patter and her rhyming magic, but she also was a mentor, and she mentored other magicians such as Chuck Jones. Yeah. Princess Tanko is an exquisite Japanese pop star. In 1989, she was awarded the Academy of Magical Arts Magician of the Year. And with that award, she became the second magician of Asian heritage and the first Asian magician to win Magician of the Year. So she's a huge celebrity in Asia, but she was also a big celebrity here in the United States. She starred in the Rockettes in New York City. She had her own Tanko cartoon series that was called Tanko and the Guardians of the Magic. And Mattel created an entire doll line about her. So she was a major star. Anybody know Faye Presto? Yeah, we love Faye. I think everyone in this room will agree that she is truly the queen of close-up. And we have on our channel this documentary, if you'd like to learn more about Faye. We have quite a few uploads of Faye Presto. Faye holds a special, I have a soft spot for her in my heart. If you look at her resume, not only is she the queen of close-up, she has performed for more royalty than probably anyone I know. She has performed for King Charles, Queen Elizabeth, and Princess Diana on multiple occasions. So yeah, she's the real deal. Now, Faye is also very innovative and inspiring because she has created her own styles, and she's 4 stores open that were closed before. So her style of table hopping magic is specific to her, and people have copied it all over the world, and it's really remarkable. She's a very big people person and a wonderful performer. So here's a trivia fun fact. Who did Faye Presto mentor? Was it Billy Kidd, Laura London, Josephine Lee, or Nicola Arcane? No. It was Laura London. You are absolutely correct. Now, I think most of you know that Laura is a superb card and close-up magician, but you might not know that she is the Magic Circle's librarian, and she is an expert on Talma. She has a complete lecture on Talma, yeah. Now, another surprise, at least it was a surprise to me, there was a magician in the White House from 1901 to 1909. Yeah. And it was Teddy Roosevelt's first daughter, Alice Roosevelt. Now, she performed close-up magic and manipulation magic. And she was also known as the most eccentric first daughter. Yeah. Everybody knows Anna de Guzman here, yes? Yeah, you've all seen her. Isn't she brilliant? Yeah. She's part of the junior program. And she literally is 25 years old. She's been entitled the Queen of Cardistry, and I think she represents beautifully the future in magic. So yeah, it's just fantastic. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of Anna de Guzman. Yeah. So the question that I'm asked most often is, why aren't there more women in magic? Well, the answer, as I know it to be true, is that there are, and there always have been, women in magic. We may be a small percentage of numbers, but the women who have chosen magic to be professional magicians, they are formidable and they are mighty. I started the Magical Woman Project it started as a pandemic project, but it has evolved into a giant project. And I started it as having a source and a resource for magicians who were performing today. One of the very first magicians that I interviewed was Ekaterina. Now, Ekaterina is a mother, she's a magician, and she's a marketing executive. Ekat was one of the very first YouTube influencers in magic. And any of you that have seen her cardistry tutorials or her close-up magic lessons or her product reviews know what a valuable commodity she is. Ekaterina is the perfect example of using magic as your foundation, but not your ceiling. Carissa Hendricks was also one of the very first magicians I interviewed. Yeah. I love Lucy. I also love Carissa. And they are two different people. Carissa is one of the most clever, talented, young, up-and-coming magician, just a fantastic magician that I know. And she is so generous with her time and her knowledge. She was really helpful when I was formulating the YouTube channel. And she was very helpful when I was putting together this lecture and talk. Now, in 2018, Kayla Drescher, who I believe you probably know as well, Kayla Drescher and Carissa Hendricks created a podcast, and that podcast was called Shazam. And Shazam is really important to the magic community because it addresses topics that were previously taboo, like adversity and diversity. And so I think it's just wonderful what they have achieved and what they continue to achieve. Now, Kayla Drescher has continued on with the Shazam podcasts, and she's a great resource if you want to learn more about our magic community in general. It's just some really interesting topics there.
I never imagined that the 5 magicians I started with on my list would lead to 10, which led to 20, which has now led to over 250 video uploads in just over 2 years, and 250,000 views on YouTube. I invite you to watch and listen to all our guests' content. Every story and experience is unique and inspiring. They have struggled as you all have, and they've pushed beyond and hurdled obstacles and defied the odds.
There's some serious talent out there right now. So one of the accomplishments that I am most proud of is the free special edition e-upload from Vanish that is called Female Magicians Through the Centuries. Anybody with the QR code or the link can learn about women in magic. Now, Paul Romani is the publisher and the editor of Vanish, and he used Sébastien Bazou, who is from Art Fake France in Paris, and he used his beautiful essay, and I helped to translate it from French to English to our English. And so it's been a remarkable accomplishment. Now, Sebastian donated all his photos. He has a massive photo and poster collection that he had accumulated over the years. And he donated all of those wonderful photos. Now, I love the cover image that Paul created. It is a mosaic of female magicians, past and present, to create the overall. Let me see if I can get to that. Oh, I forgot their clip. There's Paul and Sebastian. Sorry. And there you go. So you can see close up. It's a mosaic of female magicians, past and present, to produce the overall headshot image of British illusionist Josephine Lee. Now, I have been in entertainment my entire life, and I am a magician, and I am a woman. And I can't begin to tell you how meaningful this special edition is to me. It's pretty remarkable. When I look at the mosaic and I see myself and I see other magicians who are colleagues and friends in these pictures, when I see magicians that I've mentored and magicians who represent the future of magic, and when I look at the past magicians whose shoulders that we all stand so proudly upon, it's just, for me, it just touches my heart. It's really important. Who invented the dancing handkerchief? Was it Harry Blackstone Sr., Anna Ava Faye, Adelaide Herman, or Howard Thurston? Wow, there's a lot of answers here. Adelaide? Anna Ava Faye? Okay, we're going for women, obviously. Okay, yes. We've narrowed it down to 2. It is indeed Anna Ava Faye. Yay. Yeah, it was. And she performed seances, and she performed seances, and she was a spiritualist. And in her case, the handkerchief was possessed by a spirit, and it danced about the stage. So there was a reason for the magic. Now, Harry Blackstone Sr. saw Adelaide perform, saw Anna Ava Faye perform the dancing handkerchief, and he was so inspired that actually he produced that fantastic, very popular version of the dancing handkerchief. So that's kind of a little bit of history on that. Okay, who invented the VIP? Yeah.
Something else that this group will enjoy.
Yes.
Okay, because she did it at in the seances, and she did it in Casadega, New York. That was why he then called the cabinet that the hanky danced in the Casadega propaganda.
Oh, really?
Trivia.
That's fantastic.
Now you know the rest of the story.
And the original Casadega is in the Smithsonian.
Really? That is a fabulous piece of history.
Write that down.
I will. I've got it recorded. I'm not going to forget that. Thank you, Gay. That's wonderful. That's really good. Okay, so who invented that? Who invented the VIP prediction? Was it Dick Zimmerman, Chuck Jones, Diana Zimmerman, or Misty Lee? Any ideas?
You bet
It was indeed Diana Zimmerman.
And Dick finally gave me credit.
They give you
He gets
royalties.
all the money from the ones he sells, and
I'm just going to go back to that picture that was the previous picture, because that is actually a photograph of Collins Key. And he was a junior member, and he performed, a protege of yours, and he performed the VIP prediction in the finals of America's Got Talent. So that's kind of an interesting...
And he's got 26 million YouTube followers now.
Wow.
And he averages 60 million views a month.
Wow. Yeah.
I did a good job.
Go, Diana. So who invented the entire spiritual movement? This is a little bit complex and long. So we know, but we know about Anna Ava Faye. And we know that she was a spiritualist, and we know she conducted seances, but she didn't inspire the movement. Now, do you know, there she is with Harry Houdini, who actually supported her, strangely enough. Do you know Lulu Hurst, the Georgia Wonder? Yeah, she did these scientific examples of incredible strength. And she was tiny, just a willowy little body. But what she did that's really interesting is she actually did document her magic, and she wrote an autobiographical book. Now, Tiffany Allen presents a modern-day Georgia Wonder act, and she believes that not only did Lulu write the book, she actually published it in 1897. So that would be just remarkable, yeah. Yeah, if she actually, almost impossible, I would think, at the time, yeah? Yeah. Okay. Phenomenon was the first oracle of Delphi. She actually invented hexameter poetic verse, and she would take these sort of wisps of smoke, and she would use ventriloquism to throw her voice and make vague predictions. Now, she didn't inspire the movement, but she was pretty inspirational. She also trained future oracles of Delphi, and they had a run of 1,000 years. So you can't beat that. Okay, so now there she is again. I think everyone actually knew the correct answer, and that was the Fox sisters. Yeah. Those brats. They're really hard to like. Yeah. By snapping their fingers and trying to frighten their mother, they actually convinced the most cynical of skeptics that they could speak with the spirits and that they had supernatural powers. If it wasn't for the Fox sisters, we may never have had Derringer or Kreskin or Uri Geller. And to this day, the spiritual movement, the believers believe, and we'll never undo that. So,
Did you mean Dunninger?
Pardon?
Did you mean Dunninger?
I said Dunninger. Did I not say that?
You said Derringer.
Oh, sorry, Dunninger.
Okay.
No, Derringer is a pistol, isn't it? Yeah. Sorry. Thank you. Last year at FISM, I was invited by Max Maven to participate in his Magic History series. That was also another career highlight. I decided that I would try to find some information about the FISM females. It turns out nobody had ever done this. So I leapt down a rabbit hole, and it was really difficult because trying to source these women and source photos of the women, there are historians in Europe, from Germany, from France, everyone was trying to help me to find, a photo at least of the woman that maybe had placed that they had. So I think we've got a pretty accurate depiction now. So in the very first FISM, which happened in Switzerland in 1948, a woman placed, and she placed second in the manipulation category. And it was Paula Baird, and she was from the United Kingdom. Subsequently, there was a ladies category at FISM, and that was from 1951 until 1988. And those are all the women that placed in various years at FISM in that category. The only exception...
Is it fair to say, with all those years, if there was not a year represented, because there was no women competing?
There was, or they didn't award them. It could have been that as well, yeah. Because there are examples of people that like fourth or not a runner-up, honorable mention, but I didn't include them because it didn't seem, yeah. Now in 1970, the really interesting thing is that Valerie Swadling decided not to compete in the ladies category. She competed in general magic, and she placed second. Yeah. And we have a clip of Valerie on the Blast from the Past series, and you can see her performance. And she's actually introduced by Harry Blackstone Jr., which is really quite interesting. And she does double dancing canes in that performance. So, yeah. Yes, she did. Yeah, it's correct. Yeah. So in 1988, everything changed, and the women and men, they competed equally in all the various categories, and these are the women that have placed. I think, to me, the most important would be Juliana Chen. Yeah, because in 1997, she became the first person of Asian heritage to place and win a FISM first. She was also the first woman to place first in the manipulation category, so she's pretty important, and she's now a FISM judge. Another person that placed first was Sita from the Netherlands, and she placed first in illusions. Now, last year at FISM, Ding Yang competed, and she placed second in general magic, but she also was awarded the most original act. So she actually received 2 trophies last year at FISM. Those of you that have seen Ding Yang, you'll know that she works, she's a dove performer, and she works in a clinging black velvet catsuit. So it's pretty unusual to see a dove performer work in such an outfit. Yeah, and yes, and produces a dove on her toe, nonetheless, because she was a circus acrobat. She's from China, and she started in the circus, and she was an acrobat, so they combined her skill sets, which again, when you layer skill sets, it always makes something more interesting. So now let's go back a little bit, and we will find Celeste Evans. Yay! And Celeste Evans is credited as the very first female dove manipulator, dove performer. And she was Canadian. She toured the world on USO tours under extreme dire conditions, bringing her magic to people that really needed some entertainment. Now here's a clip of, or here's an example of Celeste. She's on the Barbara Walters special, and she's interviewed on that special. You can see that once again on our channel, but that specific clip and several other ones were given to us by Celeste's daughter, Ivana. And so she donated her mom's footage so that we could share it with everybody on our channel, which was really kind of her. She's very sweet. So here's another magic trivia question. Who snuck into the magic circle disguised as a man? Was it, now you know all 3 of these, huh? This is a little harder. Faye Presto, Celeste Evans, or Tina Leonard? Celeste Evans. Tina Leonard. It was Celeste Evans. Yeah. Yeah, it was Celeste. And it was in the 1950s, and she dressed as a junior male magician, and she performed in the club room. And she fooled them. Yeah. So I think everybody knows that the Magic Circle did not allow women into their membership until 1991. Yeah. But they did make the news in the 1970s because there was a British magician, and her name was Diane Matthews, and she applied to enter the Magic Circle, and they denied her. So in protest, she burned her bra outside the Magic Circle, and she made headlines. So she... No, she did not restore it. And in fact, that was one of the comments in one of the articles. If you read the articles about Diane Matthews at the time, one of the Magic Circle magicians that they interviewed, that was one of his questions that he asked. So, yeah, there you go. So there's great news. In 2021, Megan Swan was elected the first female president of the Magic Circle. Yay! And she is also the youngest president ever of the Magic Circle. Her vice president is also a woman, and that is Catherine Rhodes. So they have made some serious headway forward. Yay. Yay. Here's a magic trivia first. Who was the 5-time world champion, 5-time Penn and Teller Foolis, the first magician to win 5 times was Helen Coghlan, yes. Yeah, she's brilliant, and she won 5 consecutive years in a row, yeah. Now, Helen has an ace up her sleeve, and that is her father, Arthur Coughlin, and they have worked together, since she was a child. And he invents his own escapes and his own magic. So they have just published a new edition, an updated edition of their book. And in that edition, they include the milk penetration, which was on the first Penn and Teller Fool Us that Helen won. So it's really an interesting book. If you're looking for a new read, that's a good one. Okay, here's another first. Who was the first magic act ever to receive a golden buzzer in the audition rounds of America's Got Talent? Do you have any idea? It wasn't the spooky little girl. No. It was a beautiful young woman. And it was Leah Kyle from France. Yeah. And she was the first magic act ever in 16 seasons to receive a golden buzzer. And she received the golden buzzer from Heidi Klum, the model. So I think the quick change really impressed her because they literally happen in a blink of an eye in front of you. Yeah. Yeah. Now, Leah. Yeah. Leah has gone viral. Her performances have gone viral. And to quote Penn Jillette, this is not a quick change act. This is a magic act. So, yeah. She revolutionized quick change.
I think she makes her own costumes.
She most certainly does, yeah. We've interviewed her since she was, I guess the first year of our series or the second year. And her English was very limited. But behind her were her sewing machines and all her multiple threads. And she really is extremely creative. And she went to school in Bordeaux to learn haute couture so that she would be able to make these fashions. So I think that's what makes her magic also so stunning is it's contemporary. It's not sort of an older, no disrespect to other people, but not a frumpy look. It's more of a high-end French, haute couture look. And I think that's important.
And she's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah, beautiful. Yeah, stunning. Yeah, stunning. Okay, how many of you here know of magicians that are using their powers for greater good? Yes, everybody in this room knows somebody that's donating to a children's ward or to a charity or to a telethon, to all of those things. Here are some of the women that I know that are really using their magic for greater good. Anchal from India is using her performance voice against the unjust treatment and practice of the dowry system. In her live shows, she uses the cremation illusion to discourage an unfair tradition. Now, I want to show you a clip that I think is pretty powerful, and this will give you an idea. This box that she's in is an anti-dowry label box. That is crazy, no? No, I feel nervous watching her on television. Can you imagine seeing it live and feeling the heat of that bonfire? And it's really powerful. It's crazy. Yeah. There are places in Africa. There are places in Africa to this day that if you perform magic, they consider it witchcraft or voodoo, and you will be killed. And yet, Lisa Mena goes to those places for her charity, Cause to Wonder. And she is the very, very first person to have done that. Now, Lisa is also the very first person and magician ever to present a brief about her findings through Cause to Wonder at the United Nations High Commission on Human Rights. Yeah. Yeah. And Lisa's always looking for charitable donations. If you need to donate somewhere, that might be a great cause to consider. Moving on, using your magic for greater good. In France, we have Alexandra Duvivier and her father, Dominique. And what they've done is they have received approval from the French government at their school, Les Double Fonds in France. For the first time ever, any magicians who graduate the program and earn their magic certification diploma credentials are entitled to all of the programs and privileges the cultural arts in France are offered. And that is remarkable.
What does that mean specifically?
Well, in France, if you are a registered, like if you have this certification, you would be entitled to, of course, medical benefits. You would be entitled to a pension. You would be entitled to grants. You would be. It's wonderful. It would be a game changer. If we had something like that here, it would be so beneficial to so many artists that struggle. Sure. So if you are legitimate and you've qualified, then that would make it, it would be. I wish more people would, more countries would follow their example. So Magicana is a registered charity in Canada. Julie Ng is a second-generation magician. She is the director of the helm of Magicana. She is quite possibly the most talented, diversified, qualified, respected, and knowledgeable, one of the most knowledgeable magicians and people I know in magic. She is a hands-on publisher, editor, photographer, administrator, charitable works coordinator, and more. Julie is another perfect example of going beyond and using your magic as your foundation to achieve greater goals. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. Now, finally, I had to finish with the Magic Castle and the junior program, which is so important. And I think that you all know that Diana Zimmerman co-created the program with Cary Grant. Yes? Okay. What is remarkable is that they've had more than 3,000 magicians who have participated in the program. And they have produced a slew of working magicians, champions, and world champions. And that's something to be very, very proud of. And this year, correct me if I'm wrong, it's actually gone on to being a an international program. So it's wonderful. Yeah. So you're providing opportunities to people, all young magicians all over the world, and that's really important. So, I hope all these magicians inspired you. Yeah. I am extremely grateful to all of the historians and entertainers that have so generously donated their time and their expertise and their knowledge. I have tombs of information that I had to sort through. They're just have been brilliant. It's been a real communal effort. It is truly humbling to be surrounded by such greatness. Thank you. And I am so grateful for this opportunity, and also to Max Maven for presenting this challenge to me and allowing me to research and create this talk. If it wasn't for him, I would not have done this. So it really is I'm so grateful to him. When I began this project, I had no idea the Pandora's box I'd opened. I have just scratched the surface, and I hope I've piqued your interest. And I hope I've proven that women have influenced magic, past and present. correct historic omissions. And let's agree that women have influenced magic and magic's historic timeline. I think we've proven that now. So the next time that someone asks you, why aren't there more women in magic, answer confidently, there are, and there always have been. Remember, your magic is just a mosaic jigsaw puzzle. And we all have our own pieces to put together. It's not finished yet. If this talk has inspired you to push beyond your comfort zone, then I have done my job. I am so grateful to all of you for coming this evening, and thank you so much for your time and sharing your conversation. Thank you.
Connie Boyd, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.